Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Kindness Matters podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rathbun. On this podcast, we promote positivity, empathy, and compassion because we believe that kindness is alive and well, and there are people and organizations that you may not have heard of in the world, making their communities a better place for everyone. And we want you to hear their stories. On this podcast, we talk about matters of kindness because kindness matters. Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. I am so glad and so thankful that you chose to take 30 minutes out of your time, 30-ish minutes out of your day to listen to this podcast. I appreciate it so much. You have no idea. And you know what? If you're not already, go ahead and subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast, whether it's Spotify or Apple or YouTube or wherever. Go ahead and subscribe because we appreciate that. And that way you can keep all up to date on any of our new episodes like this one. I have such a great episode with you guys today. If you know me at all, you know how I love dogs. And this one just kind of fell into my lap. My guest today is Pauline Hogler, and she is an RN and a certified professional dog trainer with over 30 years of experience with competitive obedience, agility, consulting clients, and group dog behavior. She is also a critical care nurse, which makes her the perfect candidate to lead GoFi Dogs. And you're asking, well, what's GoFi Dogs? GoFi stands for Golden Opportunities for Independence. Welcome to the show, Pauline. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on today.
Thank you for having me. This is wonderful.
And this is now, in addition to all of your dog training experience, you are also a breeder. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you breed exclusively golden retrievers.
Correct.
Why golden retrievers?
I think because of my lifestyle. When I first married my husband, I wanted German Shepherds, probably wanted German Shepherds most of my life. They're just the coolest dog. But he was right when he said, we have nieces and nephews coming through the yard all the time, people coming over. And that kind of thing. And we really probably should focus more on a family breed. And so I got my first golden retriever, I'd say over 30 years ago, and she became my first breeding dog. My parents bred dogs growing up, so it's something that I absolutely love, love, love. I love puppies. There's nothing better than a litter of puppies and puppy breath. And
puppy breath is the best.
So it's
it really is in your blood, isn't it?
It really is. My father was a farmer, and so he would tell me stories about him raising the horses. I can't talk.
That's fine.
So he had all kinds of animals, and just the stories he would always tell when we were kids about the horses and the pigs and the cows and all of that stuff. I thought it was really cool. So growing up, my parents bred dogs, and when I became old enough and had my own house that I was able to do it myself, I continued on with that.
Yeah, and I love golden retrievers. I grew up with Labrador retrievers, which I think is probably about as close to a golden retriever temperamental-wise as you can get.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Golden retriever just kind of another level, aren't they?
They really are, just in the sense of their intuitiveness, really for the therapy dog work and the service dog work. A lot of what we do with people with disabilities also comes with nervousness, anxiousness. The dogs really need to be in tune to that and be able to help the handlers through things like that. And so I feel the golden retrievers are better in that regard. The You pair up a golden retriever with someone with a cane, and they're going to slow down their steps on their own. You don't have to tell them. A lab's probably going to take them down the street.
Whether he wanted to go down the
Again
street
and
or
again
not.
and again.
Yeah.
So they're both great dogs, but I like the Goldens with a little bit more of a, I feel they have a little more brain to them, and a little bit more intuitive to personal feelings and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think labs are intuitive when it comes to water,
Yeah,
but that's
exactly.
about it.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And I know what you're saying about family dogs too, because they really are. Um,
Yeah.
we've had several. My wife and I have had several dogs, um, and we have an invisible fence for our yard, which is great.
Okay.
All of our dogs have learned it and respected it. We had one dog. His name was Sammy, and he was a shepherd yellow lab mix. And
Wow.
at his peak, he was like 110 pounds. He was enormous.
Wow.
And he saw a rabbit in
That's
the
a big
neighbor's
dog.
yard and blew through the fence, yipped on the way out, and then
Yeah.
stood there and looked at the neighbor's yard and looked back at his yard, looked back at the neighbor's yard, and went, he came back in our yard, yipped on the way back in too, but
Yeah.
never ever breached that fence again. So I mean,
Oh, wow.
but that doesn't mean other dogs can't get into your yard, right? And then all
Yeah.
bets are off. But
Yeah.
yeah, we've never had one that we were afraid to have, like the kids have their friends over or what have you.
Yeah.
But there is that concern, of course, and that's where Goldens
Right.
come in. And you were talking a little bit about all of the different, because your dogs at Go Fi Dog, you have a lot of different programs, right?
Correct.
You've got
We help a lot of people.
yes, you got okay. Let's go through them one by one. You have the community resource dog. Let's talk about that type of dog.
Okay, community resource dogs is a trademark that we came up with when we were working with the police department in our town, and he's a community resource officer. And so it really fit in perfectly because his job is connecting the community, bridging people together, making police departments a place to go to help, not a bad place that you go when you're in trouble. And so we were talking for quite a while and trying to figure out what are we going to kind of call this dog. It's not really a comfort dog in the sense of it's not just kind of helping at the station with the people. It's not just providing comfort. It actually does, it passes certain tests. We go through rigorous training throughout the dog's life. And so when the puppy turns 6 months of age, that puppy goes through a test kind of coined by the AKC called the Puppy Star Test, and just making sure that the socialization is there. The owners are knowledgeable, the handlers are knowledgeable about what the dogs should have, their vaccines, their licenses through the town, all of that kind of stuff. And then for the next 6 months, you work on the canine good citizen kind of things. And that's really just it's not so much basic obedience, it's basic obedience combined with tolerance for different situations, different people. One of the test items is, can somebody else come up and brush your dog? Can somebody else lean over them and pat them on the head?
Oh,
And those kind of things. So it takes the obedience. Your shepherds and your Malinois, they can be the most obedient dog in the whole world, but don't pat him.
yeah,
That's where they
whole
draw the
separate kind of
line.
dog.
So, you know, knowing that most of my dogs that I breed are going into homes, either family homes or someone with a disability or a community engagement type of situation, that's why we've really focused on the dogs that we do breed. And I have to say, it's not even just so much that they're golden retrievers, because within my bloodlines, I have a very lab-like, I call it, bloodline, where they're busy. They might rip things apart. Um, and then I have different bloodlines that I would never put into a social kind of thing because they're so shy and timid that it's stressful for them. So really kind of trying to find, even within the dogs that I breed, that special dog, that special bloodline that can go anywhere, do anything, generalize situations and be confident in those situations and still be able to be on task for what they need to do with distractions and things like that.
Yeah. Going back to that community resource, because that's so huge. When you see, oftentimes cops, right or wrong, have, depending on the neighborhood, might have, um, there might be some hard feelings there.
Absolutely.
But when you have a cop walk up with a golden retriever,
Right.
it really kind of smooths things out, doesn't it?
100%. And I can't even begin to tell you the amount of stories that the officers tell us. Literally on the very first day, I had one officer call and was like, Pauline, you wouldn't believe what just happened. And this kind of thing happens a lot with our dogs. He said there was a child who was having a tantrum, and he literally was in the bathroom and he ripped everything apart. He ripped the toilet paper thing off of the wall. He was having a really hard time. And we don't encourage, when people are in that kind of state, to utilize the dog so much because we don't want them to get hurt. But he felt confident that after a conversation with him, he said, "It's Officer Chad." And the kid's like, "Not right now, Officer Chad. Not having a good day." And he said, "Well, do you want to just come out and talk to me for a few minutes?" And he's like, "No, not today." And then he said, "I do have Murph with me." And he said, "Oh, really? Um, okay, maybe for a minute." And he said he came out of the bathroom, he sat on the ground, he pet the dog. We train them task work. So we train them to lie across laps to do a weighted pressure, which science shows that it's really beneficial in situations like this. And he said within 5 minutes, he was back in class. And so a lot of these stories, especially the autistic community, we don't really know as a society how to deal with people that have autism.
Right.
Even any kind of mental health, we don't really, as a society, know how to deal with that. We haven't figured that out yet. But I feel like the dogs have.
Yeah.
We have saved trips to the hospital in an ambulance. Um, that an officer in my own hometown here said a girl was in school, got into a fight, was having a tantrum. She was throwing things left and right. And he said he showed up at scene and there were four officers surrounding her in a resident front yard. And he said nobody was getting anywhere with her. And it was really pretty much to the point where they would have to arrest her. And that's the last thing officers want, schools want. Nobody wants that. And
Right.
so he said, let's just try and calm down a little bit. I got to let my dog out real quick. And he said, as soon as he said the word dog, she honed in on him. And he's like, do you like dogs? And she said, yeah, I like dogs a lot. And so he's like, if you want, you can come and pat, sit down, take a breather, pat Rubble, and just see how this goes. And once again, that kid went back to school, let alone
Instead
the
of
ambulance
jail.
was on scene. Yeah, the fire department was on scene, the police were on scene, and this dog, out of all of those people, was able to get this girl to get up, and go back to school and calm down enough that she was rational thinking and that kind of stuff. So even financially, the amount of money that they save municipalities between not having to go to an emergency department. I work in an emergency department. That's the last place that a child with autism should be. It's the
Yeah,
last place that people with mental health should be. It's not geared towards that. And unfortunately, with the shortage of care that we have currently, they sit in an emergency for days. And so to be able to not only save the ambulance trip, preventing them from going to an emergency room, they're saving them from sitting in an emergency room for days upon days on end. So it's
absolutely.
really, really, it's blown my mind how really beneficial it is for communities, for just each town that gets one of these dogs cannot say enough about the work that they do and that they never imagined that they're able to do what they do in each town. And every chief calls me and says, Pauline, you wouldn't believe. And I say, yes, I would. Yep.
I
So
knew what I was
30
doing when I
dogs
created
later.
this program.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's community resource dogs. You also have a
Yes.
program for facility dogs. Now, what type of
Yes.
dog would that be?
So we do a lot of schools, many colleges, BU, Babson, Curry College here in the area have our dogs. In colleges there, it's a little different, but the same in the sense that students go into schools, there's a lot of stress when they're in college, their first year in college, they're away from their family. And I want to say probably the most common comment that people say is, I can't believe how much I miss my dog. And it's so nice to be able to pat this dog because it's,
Yeah.
it's tough being away.
So this is just for college students then?
We do schools. We have dogs in elementary schools, which was my biggest concern. We really wanted to. I think the whole time she was talking, I was like, "It's not going to work. It's not going to work." Um, it's working, and I have to say that dog is doing amazing things in a younger population. But
Yeah.
also, we have middle school that has them, high schools that have them. It's really
Yeah. I
a lot of times the guidance counselors will have them, and
okay.
then dogs can, I mean, kids can sign up to see them, that kind of thing. So,
Yeah. And I know we have a lady up here who has put together a program for kids, well, to bring dogs and handlers, therapy dogs,
yeah,
into middle schools because oftentimes when well, we know kids are stressed to the max these days, right? And a lot of it begins,
yeah,
I think, in middle school, is what she found.
yeah,
And she brings the dogs in, and they calm right down. And yeah, that's awesome.
yeah,
Um, so that's a facility dog,
yes.
and then the one I like the most, service dogs.
Service dogs are really cool. Um, when I first started this program, it was because well, when I was thinking about doing this, I heard about cancer sniffing dogs. And as a nurse, of course, that's a nurse
I'll
who
bet
loves
that got your
dogs.
radar up.
Exactly. Um, and I did my share of research. There were people doing it, but ultimately it came back to, as much as they can do it, I think ethically, what are we going to do, put a bunch of dogs in cages and have them sniff samples, kind of thing. So I did get off of that, but it did get me on the track. My niece is paralyzed, and so I had been spending some time with her, and we both, I just kept on saying, you need a service dog, you need to get a service dog. Just like, I don't want them to have to work.
Well, yeah, I mean,
But they
okay,
would
fair.
love it. They would love to work for you. um, and then shortly after we had that discussion, a girl that worked for me through high school, helping with the dogs and the animals, came back and said, I've been thinking of starting a service dog program. And so it was literally like the next morning. I'm like, that is just the craziest thing. So clearly it's meant to happen.
Well,
And
yeah.
here we are, 10
And
years later.
there are so many different categories of service dog. You have service
Yeah.
dogs for veterans, for PTSD,
Yes.
for disabled
Yes.
people.
Yes,
You do first responders as well, I think, or no?
we do first responders.
Because and it's sort of the same thing as the veterans, but maybe a different kind.
Well, PTSD is PTSD, and they're all kind of out in the line of fire out there. So
Right.
um, they're beneficial
Did I miss a
in that.
category of service dog? Disabled people,
We
PTSD.
do children, veterans, people with disabilities. We really focus our service dogs on who we can help the most. Um, and we don't necessarily pick a population. We go with who can we do the most for, what would the best scenario for our dog be, what's the best scenario for someone taking in one of our dogs. And we like to stay local, right in our own community. We try and just focus 25 miles from Walpole, but we're getting to the point where I feel confident that we can kind of start to work outside of those lines. But the primary reason for that is that the majority of service dogs that get trained fail. And I thought that was just awful. You
You
know,
said they fail?
they fail.
How?
The success rates for service dogs is pretty bad. And so I wanted to change that. And I feel the primary way to change that is the people have to know more. The people have to be able to troubleshoot when things go wrong. They need to have a better bond with their dog. Most of the programs do a couple of weeks where they put the dog and the human together, and then they do training. They learn, I want to say, the buttons to push for the most part, but they don't learn. One case in particular, I was at a Dunkin' Donuts with one of the dogs that I had in training, and he was right around a year. So that's kind of a hormonal stage for them. They go through fear stages, and out of nowhere, a German Shepherd popped up from under one of the tables and lunged at him.
Oh
And
dear.
of course, we both jumped. And at the time, they had a huge statue, a cardboard statue of Gronk. So we jumped into that. That fell down on top of the dog,
Oh,
and it was a nightmare. It was your classic nightmare. And from that, it took a long time to get that dog to feel comfortable going into Dunkin' Donuts again, going into stores and without having to look under
oh.
tables and chairs and things like that. And so I feel strongly that the people need to be able to know how to help your dog through things like that because they happen.
Yeah, absolutely. You have no idea, and trying to train for every possible scenario must be impossible.
Yeah, it is impossible.
Um, I am so impressed with these dogs, and I'm sure this must fit into your categories. Like the ones who know can sense a seizure, for example, coming on,
Yeah,
and will bring their their person down to a
yeah,
sitting position. I think
yeah.
is that.
Um, it, One of our very first dogs was a seizure detection dog, and so he was Bridget's sibling, and so Bridget's pretty much the OG of Gofi. She's almost 12 now, but she definitely was the one dog who was in tune. If you walk in somewhere and Bridget pulls you to somebody, you know to let her go and stay with that person because she's just so in tune.
Oh wow.
But Buddy, her brother, was a seizure detection dog for a girl who was 18 at the time, and she had lived a life of not having really any privacy. The parents couldn't really get a good night's sleep because seizures happen at nighttime. That's the highest death rate is when they're in bed and they seize and you don't know about it.
Oh
So,
boy.
one, we say that the only thing that we really can do, or can guarantee is not the right word for it either, but we can't really say that the dogs know that they're about to have a seizure, but I've seen it, and it's truly amazing, whether it's the chemistry within the human or body language within the human. I don't think we've quite figured it out, but I am nearly certain it is scent, because that's what we actually train them with on seizures. If someone's having a seizure, you take the shirt that they were wearing and you use that as a testing
Oh.
shirt, and you do it all through scent. So I
Hmm.
have to say, the scent, like I said in the beginning, the cancer sniffing dogs, scent work is amazing. Dogs can smell through a concrete wall. Of course they can smell inside of you. There's a lot of studies that have high specificity and high sensitivity for urine cultures, sputum cultures, being able to smell and detect certain things. Even in COVID, they trained them to detect COVID
Oh, really?
on humans. So that's just it's an amazing superpower that they have. So
Like golden
it's true.
retrievers needed another superpower.
exactly.
I mean, come on.
Exactly.
But yeah, I
Exactly.
and it isn't just or it isn't just golden retrievers that have that power. Most dogs, or
Oh,
some dogs, do.
well, any dog can do it. I feel the real key to um, the Labradors and the Goldens is that they want to please you. And so you have to have that level of communication. So every dog will be like, oh, I smell something different. But if you train a dog, one of these guys, on that sweat sample, that this is what I want you to do when you
When you
smell this,
smell
or
this,
when you see this, exactly. And so being able them to be smart enough to, one, be able to figure out that it's a two-step process. It's no longer just I say sit, you say sit, you sit. It's now I say sit, you sit, and then you jump on me when you smell that, or you paw
yeah,
me when you smell things like that. And so it requires a smart dog, um, as well as a dog that is very in tune to you. I look at my dogs. I don't care where I am or what I'm doing. At any given moment, I look at them. They're looking at me, and I think most people would attest to that. Yes, 100%. When I look at my dog, they're looking at me. What are you dog looking at?
now what do
But
you think? This all of this training, um,
mm,
it must be very expensive.
it is very expensive. Um, so we had a really rough year last year because we would have one. So the dogs would get dropped off Monday through Thursday, and we have a trainer work with each of the dogs. And that's just not feasible. I want to say that the price was probably up in the $50,000 range.
Wow.
But now we're actually starting a program where we have students that want to learn how to train a dog. And so we're going to provide them with our dogs. So school costs money, and school, you have to take time off from everything else. So if you want to really learn how to train a dog, this is the best way to do it. We have academic portion where we have modules, um, tests and all of that stuff, but we also have the hands-on. And so 2 days a week, you come here 3 hours at a time, you do your clinical here, and you learn how to do the hands-on portion. And so you start module 0 is when the puppy's born. Module 1 is 3 months to 5 months, and then just each module is another couple of months until the dog is 2 years of age. And
So
so
you're
from
training
start
your
to finish,
trainers, basically.
what's that?
You're training your trainers.
Yeah, yes.
You're bringing in a
And
whole new.
we're allowing them hands-on with our dogs, but it also gets our dogs hands-on with humans. And so
Perfect.
it's a very good model.
How do you fund a nonprofit like this? I mean, is it
We
corporate?
do a lot of
Sorry.
Yeah, we do a lot of just regular fundraisers. We have a golf tournament coming up in September. That's probably our biggest money maker for the year. We apply for grants. Our DA was very generous with grants for the police department, so she would give the police departments a grant to purchase our dogs. We have two district attorney offices that we work closely with
Oh,
in my local area that have found, they can't stop at one dog. They're both on to at least 10 apiece. So they see the benefit of it.
well, this is, you have such a cool program here, Pauline. I really,
Thank
really,
you.
really appreciate what you do. Any thought of like taking this nationally or
Yeah, I think I'm not opposed to it.
perfect?
So,
I am going to have links to your website. I think you have a donation page on your website. I'll do that
yes.
separately. Um,
Okay.
and you guys are just making such a positive impact in the world and in the lives of other people. And I think it's fantastic. It's amazing.
Thank you. It's pretty kind.
It is pretty kind. You're right. That's why you're here.
That's why we're here together.
Thank you so much
So,
for your time today, Pauline. I really appreciate it.
you as well.
Hey, everybody, I want to thank you for taking this time to listen to this episode with my guest, Pauline Hogler from Gofi Dogs. I want to acknowledge right now, I said it wrong the entire episode. I said GoFi, it's Gofi Dogs, Golden Opportunities for Independence. I hope you were able to take something positive from the time that you spent here with us. Maybe you'll be inspired. Maybe you'll be motivated. Maybe you'll be moved. If you experienced any of those positive feelings, please consider sharing this podcast with your friends and family and the butcher at the grocery store, whatever the case may be. It would mean the world to me. And I'm always striving to offer you a better podcast. So, give me some feedback. Let me know how you think I'm doing. Email me. Leave me a message on our socials. It would mean the world to us. This podcast is part of the Mayday Media Network. If you have an idea for a podcast, let's say, and you need some production assistance, or maybe you already have a podcast and are looking for a supportive network to join, check out MaydayMediaNetwork.com and check out the many different shows they have, like Afrocentric, Spoil My Movie, Generation Mixtape, In a Pickle Radio Show, Wake Up and Dream with D'Anthony Palin, Stacks O'Pax, and the Time Pals. We'll be back again next week with a brand new episode, and we would be honored if you would join us. You've been listening to the Kindness Matters podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rathbun. Have a fantastic week.